The mask we wear. Julian had always been the life of the party. He was charming, funny, and always had a way of making people feel special. His quick wit and infectious laugh were enough to get him invited to every event, to every gathering. He was the one everyone turned to when they needed someone to lift the mood. But behind that facade, there was a different side of him, a side he kept hidden from everyone, even from himself. For years, he had perfected the mask, the persona he showed to the world. It was easier that way. People liked him better when he was the funny, confident guy. They didn't ask questions about his past, the scars he had buried deep inside. They didn't care about the nights he spent alone, struggling with his own thoughts. They didn't notice how tired he was of pretending, how exhausting it was to constantly put on a show. But then Mia came into his life. She wasn't like the others. She didn't care about the mask. She saw right through it, and it terrified him. She wasn't impressed by his jokes or his bravado. She didn't care about his charm or the way he could captivate a room. Mia looked beyond all that. She saw the cracks, the fragility he tried so hard to hide. At first, Julian tried to keep his distance. He didn't want her to see the real him, the broken, insecure man hiding beneath the jokes and the charm. He had always been able to control the narrative with everyone else. But with Mia, he felt like he was being stripped bare, and that scared him more than anything. Mia wasn't like the others who loved him for his performance. She was different. She didn't want the version of him he showed the world. She wanted the truth. And for Julian, that was something he had never been able to give. One evening, after another night out where he had played the role of the happy-go-lucky guy, they sat on the balcony of his apartment. The city lights below twinkled, a stark contrast to the darkness inside him. The air was warm, but it felt heavy. Mia turned to him, her eyes steady and knowing, as if she could sense the storm brewing inside of him. "Why do you do it?" she asked, her voice gentle but piercing. "Do what?" Julian asked, pretending he didn't know exactly what she meant. "The mask, the act. Why do you keep pretending to be someone you're not?" Her question hit him like a punch to the gut. He had spent so long perfecting the mask, convincing himself it was the only way to survive. It was easier, he had told himself. But now, sitting there with Mia, he couldn't deny it any longer. It was a lie. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice quiet, almost ashamed. "It's easier this way. People like me better when I'm this way." Mia didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him, her gaze steady and unwavering. The silence between them felt suffocating, and Julian wanted to fill it with something, anything to distract from the truth that was slowly unraveling inside him. "I don't think it's easier," Mia said finally, her voice soft but resolute. "I think it's lonely." Her words pierced through him, stripping away the layers of defense he had built over the years. He had spent so long hiding from the world that he hadn't realized how much he had lost. The mask had kept him safe, yes, but it had also kept him isolated. It had kept people at arm's length, never allowing them to truly see him, never allowing him to truly connect with anyone. "I'm not sure how to stop," Julian confessed, his voice shaking slightly. "I've been doing it for so long that I don't know who I am without it." Mia reached out, her hand resting gently on his arm. "You don't have to figure it out alone." But that was the thing. Julian had always thought he had to figure everything out on his own. He had built walls around himself, convinced himself that asking for help or letting someone in was a sign of weakness. He didn't know how to be vulnerable, how to let someone see the cracks in his armor. "I'm scared," he admitted, the words coming out in a breathless rush. "I'm scared that if I take it off, there will be nothing left." Mia's hand tightened around his arm, not in pity, but in understanding. "I'm not asking you to be perfect, Julian. I'm asking you to be real." He wanted to believe her, but it was hard. It was so hard. The mask had protected him for so long, but now with Mia sitting there, so close, so real, it felt like it was suffocating him. He could feel the weight of his own walls pressing down on him, making it harder to breathe. "I don't know if I can," Julian whispered, his voice barely audible. Mia didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at him. She didn't judge him. She didn't push him. She just let him be. And for the first time in a long time, Julian felt a flicker of hope. "You don't have to do it all at once," Mia said gently. "It's a process, and you don't have to do it alone." Julian didn't know how long they sat there. the city lights flickering around them, but it felt like a lifetime. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that he could let go of the mask, that he could be someone worth loving without the facade. "I'm trying," he said finally, his voice trembling slightly. "I really am." Mia smiled, the kind of smile that didn't need words to explain it. It was a smile that said, "I see you, I accept you, and I'm here." For the first time in years, Julian allowed himself to believe it. The night stretched on, the weight of their shared silence comforting in its own way. Julian didn't know where this was going or what the future would hold, but for the first time, he wasn't afraid of what was beneath the mask. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but in that moment, he knew that maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop pretending. Time to let go of the mask and let someone in,